What the fuck?
This is the worst.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Really?
Really, really. You need to shut the up. Fool of a took.
Hey y'all, how you crazy bastards doing? It's your boy Fire Neck Dragon here, and I'm back with a vengeance because I still can't believe I exposed myself to watching this ridiculously expensive trash movie weeks ago. Its shittiness has such a profound effect on me that I decided to cover the first half of season 3 of The Witcher and Sound of Freedom instead, but then I remembered that I'm a man of my word and that I really love to shit on Disney, so then I thought it would be best if I covered this film for posterity's sake so that people can have something to look back on in order to learn from the mistakes of the crazy past.
Thank God.
You're my hero.
Other than that, not only will this review contain spoilers because the film has been out for almost a month by now, so if you still haven't seen it, I don't blame you honestly, because this movie sucks balls harder than the wife of a guy whose name ends with the number 22, but if at any point you enjoyed the video, then please consider doing what you're seeing on screen right now to let YouTube know you enjoyed the content, and let's whip out our time machine to find out what went wrong with this movie. So the movie begins with a 21-minute sequence of a young CGI-rendered Indy trying to infiltrate a Nazi Germany base during the 1940s in order to smuggle out the Spear of Destiny, which is supposedly going to get taken by the Germans to Berlin via train. However, our intrepid hero gets captured by the Germans and is about to get tortured to death until the fucking explosive warhead saves him by piercing the wooden floor and not exploding on impact until it slowly slides down the bottom, while the Germans and Indy are just comically looking at it fall. And no, don't ask me why he's the only one that survived such a big explosion, because at this point Disney made it clear that the idiocy meter on this movie is going to be set on overdrive from the get-go.
Jesus Christ! Really?
Anyway, to fast forward a bit, Indy manages to escape and save his generic scholarly British friend Basil Shaw, and as they're escaping, the evil German physicist Jürgen Voller, played by the legendary Mads Mikkelsen, who for fuck's sake needs to get a big win movie in America besides Polar already, finds out that the Spear of Destiny that is being transported is actually a fake one, and I found out that apparently that this scene came off as a big middle finger to all those Indiana Jones fans who were begging for years for a Spear of Destiny movie to be made. So out of respect for the fans, you already know what I'm going to say to Disney in this case, right?
Yep.
You.
To get back on track, a bunch of filler action scenes occur, and it all concludes with Indy and Basil escaping the Germans with what is apparently the second half of the Dial of Archimedes that is supposed to be able to guide the user once completed to ripples in time around the world that allow people to time travel.
Wait, what?
Oh, and also Mads Mikkelsen's character gets whacked really hard in the face by a metal pole while on a high-speed train and falls off to his death, which then leads to an immediate 25-year transition where we see the old decrepit Indy living the worst time of his life because it's 1969, our hero is lonely because his wife divorced him after their son died during the Vietnam War, and then to drive the point home that he is a shell of his former self, the female students no longer smile at him because of his looks since he's not young anymore, and all the other students just barge in the middle of his lecture with a TV to interrupt him because the moon landed. But as a final insult, the people at his job give him a fucking consolation prize to let the old man know that they're so happy that this geriatric ass is finally gonna retire.
Gosh, this is so depressing.
After a while, he goes off to a bar to forget about his terrible day, and out of nowhere, the daughter of his long-dead friend, Helena Shaw, shows up to let us know that she is the best thing ever after God, but to make this entire exchange short, she just uses her godfather to get access to the second half of Archimedes' dial because she knew that Indy never got rid of it after he took it from her father for safekeeping, and then a diversity-hire CIA agent comes in to try to arrest Indy for some reason, with two other agents that apparently are secret Nazi sleeper agents that work for Jürgen, who is now a physicist for the United States government.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out! Y'all take a chill!
Wait a minute, didn't he get hit really hard in the face by a metal pole while on a moving train?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Bullshit, man!
Jesus Christ, how are you even alive?
Did I miss an important scene in the movie, or did one get cut out that explains how or why he's alive and thriving in the US to the point where he skips going to an award ceremony where the president himself is requesting his presence because he wants to go after the Dow?
No, it won't.
Will the movie ever answer any of my questions regarding this character or any of the stupid shit that occurs constantly in the plot?
None of your damn business.
Alright, so moving on, a big chase scene of about 13 to 15 minutes occurs where Indy ends up escaping, on a horse by the way, to find shelter at his friend Salah's house. And yes, John Rhys Davies was brought into this film because Disney thought they weren't driving the point well enough that all your beloved heroes are a bunch of old, weak, useless men in their old age, so they had to hire another one to make it obvious.
Shame on you!
Regardless, Indy finds out his goddaughter is a black market artifacts dealer that has a rap sheet as long as the Great Wall of China, and he decides to go after her in Tangier to get the dial back. And before we get to that scene, we're shown a quick flashback of how this goddaughter of his had a terrible childhood because her father became ultra obsessed with the dial until Indy took it from him. But who gives a rat's ass about a character development? We gotta go to Morocco, people! After almost 40 minutes of time padding disguised as movie screen time, we finally get a scene where Indy, Jurgen, and Helena are both in the same room at a seedy black market auction, but a fight erupts between them and the other patrons at the room for the dial until Helena manages to escape with the dial with this movie short round, Teddy, but of course they end up losing the dial to Jurgen, who steals it quite easily from him.
Really, Nick?
Afterwards, another yet shorter chase sequence occurs where Indy has to avoid getting killed by Helena's ex-lover who is chasing them, the Nazis, and his own goddaughter because she doesn't want him to get his hands on the dial first, so as a result she tries to sabotage him constantly, but then they're forced to work together after Jurgen runs off with the dial because they need each other to figure out where in the Mediterranean this Graphicos Codex that they need is buried at, because that thing will let them know where the second half of the dial that they're looking for is located at.
What are stories but mystery boxes? There's a...
What a load of shit.
Anyway, they end up going to Greece to get help from Antonio Banderas playing a tipsy sailor version of himself, and after a couple minutes of time padding, they end up reaching a good location and start diving into the seabed where Helena and Indy find the treasure, but the second he takes it, electric eels start attacking him, and she thinks it's a great time to just take the treasure and leave Indy to potentially die from the eels, because I guess she really loved the thought of the potential money she could make off the discovery of the completed dial by herself.
Guess what? You're a
However, she realizes she still needs Indy and goes back to save him, but when they surface, they find out that the Nazis took over the boat, and when no one wants to provide Jurgen with a translation for the tablet, he just decides to shoot Antonio Banderas as punishment, which then leads to Helena saying she'll translate the tablet if she gets paid $100 grand up front, and after getting paid in diamonds, she goes on to translate the tablet that supposedly says the second half of the dial lies with Archimedes in his tomb somewhere in Greece.
I don't like it.
As she's doing this, Disney tries to make an excuse for her being a complete piece of shit to Indy by showing that she has a stick of dynamite hidden that she will be using for their escape, and after successfully fleeing from the Nazis, Helena downplays Antonio Banderas' death, but then Indy makes sure the people forget about that, despite telling her a few seconds ago that he was one of his best friends, when he finds out that there was a golden tablet hidden inside the wax tablet that tells us to go to the tomb of Dionysius in Sicily to find out the second half.
Are we there yet? Almost.
Oh, it gets worse.
After some more pointless time padding, Teddy ends up getting captured by the Nazis, and Indy with Helena try to rescue him, but instead decide to get to Archimedes' tomb before them so they can have the bargaining advantage to save his life.
One eternity later.
After our intrepid duo goes through a bunch of passageways and overcome many traps, they end up finding Archimedes' tomb and the second half of the dial, but they also make the discovery that the man potentially time traveled to the future before returning because his corpse had a watch on his hand, and oh yeah, Teddy also manages to escape the Nazis by himself because big buff dudes can't swim, I guess.
I don't even care anymore.
Anyway, the Nazis make it into the room a few minutes later and a quick gunfight ensues where Indy ends up getting shot and captured by the Nazis because he tried helping Helena escape, and then we get a bunch of scenes that boils down to Helena suddenly becoming the hero of this film as she tries to desperately rescue Indy from the Nazis who want to time travel back to Nazi Germany to kill Hitler and create a true 1,000-year Reich because Jurgen feels that the mustache man was the reason Germany lost the war.
What the f*** is this? I don't know.
Jesus Christ, I can't stand this movie anymore, so allow me to speed through these last atrocious 20 minutes of the movie by just saying that if you remember that clip from Commando where Arnold jumps off the plane from the wheels to escape, then you won't be surprised when I tell you that Helena tried to do the same in reverse by running up to the plane wheels on a motorcycle and then jumping on them and getting inside the plane via the wheel hatch.
Excuse me, what?
After some time, the wounded Indy, who hasn't died from blood loss for some reason, despite being shot in what looks to be a vital artery, tells Jurgen that Archimedes didn't know during his time about the concept of the continental drift when he designed his dial, and tells Jurgen that his coordinates are wrong, but when he finally decides to turn back, it's already too late because the ripple in time sucked him in and took him back in time to the Battle of Syracuse in 214 BC, where the plane gets completely annihilated by the Roman ballistae while a fighting occurs inside a cockpit where Indy and Helena manage to escape, but the Nazis perish in a plane crash where the watch Archimedes' corpse had several minutes ago is identified to be Jurgen's watch, which I guess thanks for letting me know, but I honestly give less of a shit about that question being answered, Disney.
What is this crap?
Anyway, to wrap up this disaster film, Indy decides he wants to stay in the past and live history alongside Archimedes, but the selfish Helena decides to take matters into her own hands by performing one of the most unlike scenes ever made in the final film of a franchise ever by punching the geriatric Indiana Jones in the face.
You what?
After she does that, I guess she somehow manages to pilot the plane Teddy stole several minutes ago that came through the Terran time as well, while carrying Indy on her back and returning to their time all off screen because I assume Disney had no idea how to create a transition between scenes because the last few minutes is just Indy being back in his apartment where Helena literally says the reason she brought him back is because he is meant to be there, and when Indy asks for who all of a sudden, Marion walks in, Sala walks in to take everyone else away while the two lovebirds have a private chat. They talk to each other about how being old sucks because every part of their body hurts, but then kiss, and then Helena f***s off somewhere in the city never to be seen again because she's insufferable, where we then get a Mandalorian Season 3 ending where a shrinking circle shows up near Indy's hat until the screen cuts to black after he grabs his hat to let us know that this nightmare of a movie is finally done.
Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
So, for those of you crazy bastards that somehow made it all the way to the end, I just want to say thank you and that you're all amazing, because I know it must be tough having to hear a dragon talking about how Disney neutered and then set on fire a beloved character from the golden age of Lucasfilm, but alas, someone has to do it because otherwise the people will not become aware as they are now of why Hollywood is currently swimming in a huge sea of dookie media.
You know what? You're absolutely right.
Regardless, my rating for this movie is a 2 out of 10, and the reason for it is because this movie's only purpose is to degrade and publicly humiliate Harrison Ford and all of the Indiana Jones fan base in the hope that they could get a new generation to hook on to Helena Shaw as the new Indiana Jones replacement.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load.
However, I'm noticing from how badly this movie performed in the box office and that it even got beaten by the $14.5 million budget movie that shall not be named, that this ambition of Kathleen Kennedy's will never become a reality and that thankfully people are genuinely getting tired of most of Hollywood's current garbage products.
What? This is absolutely correct!
My Jove, you certainly hit the nail on the head!
Well guys, that's my review on Indiana Jones 5, and if you enjoyed the video, then I will ask you once again to subscribe to the channel, and if you're wondering if I'm in other media platforms, then click on my Linktree link on the description below of all my videos.
Fun and good for your health.
With that, I wish y'all a wonderful day. Stay tuned for The Witcher Season 3 Part 2 review because that pile of doo-doo comes out this Thursday, and Namarie.